I'm sure you guys are used to coming to meetings if you haven't come to one of these meetings that are very boring. You want to fall asleep 5 minutes in. This is the good shit, not the bullshit. Okay? People who teach mindset do that because they can't teach tactics. So we're going to talk about tactics today, and we're going to talk about ways of thinking. I have the good fortune, I coach 100 agents throughout the country, 12 of which make over $1 million a year. And I can see, I get a very clear, up-to-date access to what's going on in the market from producers all around the country. And I'm noticing as the marketplace has shifted and changed, it's created a lot of internal tension for people. It's created a lot of anxiousness. I have a lot of mental health calls with people. There's tears at least twice a week, no bullshit, like 100%. So I think part of the reason why is focus. And if you look here, there's nothing worse than somebody who's enthusiastically running in the wrong direction. That's me right there. That's Gabriella's work right there. That's pretty dope, right? So there's nothing worse than someone who's enthusiastically running in the wrong direction. And as agents, we have all of these different directions that we can run in. We wear all of these hats. So who wants to give me examples of some of the hats that we wear as agents? Marriage counselor, what else? 100%. I've sat down with sellers, husband's like this, wife's like, huh? You know what I mean? They're going through it. What else?
Life coach.
Life coach, what else?
Divorce counselor.
Divorce counselor, what else?
Financial planner.
Ah, finances. 65% of people live paycheck to paycheck, okay? So we think we're awesome financial decision makers as a whole, as a country. That is not true. What else?
Home inspector.
Home inspector. You shouldn't be doing that. We'll talk about that today. What else? Strategic planner, marketer, bookkeeper, media person, transaction coordinator, CRM manager. You have all of these different hats that you can wear. So then focus becomes critically important. And the reason why it's so critically important is this number right here. 27,550 days. Does anybody know what that number represents?
Number of agents locally.
That is where we're going, my dear, and I love that thinking. That is not what that represents. That represents the average amount of time that each one of you will get on planet Earth. 75 years in the industrialized world. Women have a tendency to get a little bit more than men. That's what's average. I'm 42, so I've used more than half. Whatever's left, if I sleep 8 hours in a day, I'm going to sleep through a third of it. All of that is to demonstrate that it's not that much time. Okay? And the thing we have to remember is that the sooner that you can accomplish something, the longer you can enjoy it with the people that you love. Never forget that you are in the process of expiring. The faster that I can accomplish something, the longer I can enjoy it with my family. The faster I can reach financial freedom and independence, the longer I can enjoy it with the people that I love and enjoy. Anybody besides me want to create that type of situation where you have time freedom and location freedom? I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong room. Anybody besides me say aye. Good, good. So I recognize that we live on an economic planet. Okay? My son, he got bit by an ant, and we didn't know he had an ant thing. He looked like Will Smith in that movie. He swelled all up really quick. Took him to urgent care. They would not let him pass the threshold until I swiped my card for 150 bucks. That's just the way it is. I can't buy groceries with a smile, unfortunately. Okay? So being that that's the case, I have to be very thoughtful. If I'm going to exchange time for money, I need to make sure that it's an effective and efficient use of time. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay? The challenge is in our industry, it is rampant and completely abundant with people that are not efficient and effective with their time. I don't know if you guys know this, but the average agent makes $72,000 a year in the United States. The average manager at Taco Bell makes 70. Those are called the facts, which means that most people don't know where to focus their time. Would you agree? 100%. And I was following this advice at the beginning of my career. I was 26 years old. I just graduated from UF. Go Gators. I was listening to this advice my first 9 months in the business. And guess how much money I made? $13,000.
Wow.
Because it's a virus of thinking. Do you understand? And because of that virus of thinking, it leads to mediocre levels of production nationwide. So I didn't know what to do because $13,000 isn't going to cut it, team, is it? Nope. Not going to cut it. So I figured, okay, I need to get proximity because proximity is power. What's very true for me is that I've had probably 5 relationships in my life that have completely changed the trajectory of my life. Growing up, my family of origin, working kind of poor, very nice people, living paycheck to paycheck. If something you know, the car broke down, my dad would have to get a second job delivering pizzas in order to pay for the transmission. Anybody know what that's like? Yeah. And you know all the stuff that goes along with it, don't you? Fighting about money all the time. Domestic stuff, right? Substances. All the stuff that goes with that, right? So I was like, look, this is not the way for me. I don't know what the way is, but I need to find the way or make the way. And I got proximity to the best coaches, the best trainers, the best mentors. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money. And now I'm no longer at a loss on where to focus my time at all. And that allows me to work 4.5 days a week and make 100 times more than I did that first 9 months in the business. Okay? Because of focus, what you choose to stack your time on. You have to make sure it's the most effective and efficient use of time. And I believe that everybody in this room with the right mental maps, the right way of thinking, and this is going to be interesting because I promise you I'm going to say some stuff today that you're not going to like. I'm going to say some stuff that you're going to push up against. Okay, I remember I was doing a talk, this was years ago, it was like 200 agents in the room. Everything I said, she was like sitting in the back row, everything I said, she was like, she got all mad and uptight. So I'm like, you know what, time out. Could you stand up, please? And she was like, yeah, and she stood up. I was like, great, what's your name? She's like, Susie. I'm like, great, let me ask you a question. And my intention in asking questions, I'm not trying to be a jerk. My intention in asking questions is really to help you to self-discover some things. Because one of the best questions you can ask a teacher, mentor, or coach is, what do I currently believe to be true that isn't? Because what you believe to be true that isn't is what's keeping you stuck. So I said, let me ask you a question. How many deals do you do a year? And it was like 30. I'm like, great, that's great business. In any office, you're a top producer, they put you on panels, correct? I said, great. And I can tell by the way that you're not enjoying some of the things that I'm saying, it's pushing up against some of your belief systems. So I imagine that all your business is past client centers of influence. And she was like, yeah. I also imagine that you mother your deals. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you hang over them and you don't let anybody else touch your little precious. She was like, yeah. I'm like, great. Well, I need you to understand something. I don't care how many seminars you go to. I don't care how many classes you sit in like this. Until you're okay with some people not liking you, you'll never do more deals than that. I'll do 200 and at the end, 20 won't be happy, and it's not the intention. But when your audience expands, what happens? People get pissed off. If Jesus showed up right now, somebody wouldn't like his hair, somebody wouldn't like his sandals, somebody definitely wouldn't like the color of his skin, right? That's just what's true. So I do believe that with a change in thinking, and be conscious as we go through these, as I start to share with you some of the things that I believe, right? And it's not that it came from theory. I've used it and it's produced very favorable outcomes because the proof is in the progress. A lot of people talk a lot of shit, but here's what's true. 2,000 homes sold, that's a lot. 100 coaching clients, that's a lot. Bringing in 196 agents in 16 and a half months. Jack Harlow has a verse in a song that says there's a reason why things are going the way that they are. There's something behind it, okay? So what we're going to do for the next 30 to 45 minutes is I'm going to go over with you, again, mental maps, ways of thinking, what I learned from coaches, trainers, mentors that allowed us to be able to produce these outcomes, because I want every single person in the room to make more money in less time. Who's up for that? Say aye. Aye. Good, let's go. Okay, so let's define some words real quick, because I said effective and efficient and leveraged. And you know, it's interesting because of like technology and TikTok, people end up with like surface level understanding of things, but then think that they know something, right? So efficient, that word actually means working in a well-organized and competent way. Guys, we deal with agents all the time, not well-organized and not competent. Like a fucking shitty mess. Like your schedule's all crazy. We have to text people 15 times and send them 10 emails and like, I didn't get it. You're like, really, bro? So disorganized, don't use a Google Calendar, okay? Just completely not efficient. Let's look at effective. Being successful in producing a desired or intended result. What's the desired or intended result in real estate? Money. Fucking money, thank you. Right? People are like, oh, I love people. I'm like, that's gross. You haven't dealt with enough people. I love houses. That's ridiculous. You know how many houses I've been in where I need to like burn my suit because they had a cat farm? Most. And you gotta be like, oh yeah, the fucking purple carpet, that's dope, yeah. Right? So, but if the effectiveness, if we're defining that as producing a desired and intended result, and the average agent makes $70,000 a year, $72,000 a year, and the average manager at Taco Bell makes 70, how well are agents doing here? Very poorly. Right? And leveraged, using something to maximize advantage. Interesting. Using something to maximize your advantage. So if I want to be effective and efficient, first I have to define what these things are. I have to get well organized. I have to become competent. If I want to be effective, I need to produce the desired outcome and leverage. So what are some things that we could be using as leverage?
Transaction coordinator.
Okay, interesting, transaction coordinators. But people don't want to do that because this is my precious. Nobody can talk to my clients.
Or don't want to pay.
Oh, I don't want to pay. It's fucking $300, Edwin. I need you to understand that thinking will keep you here for the rest of your life. Period, end of story. I don't care how many seminars you go to. I don't care how many podcasts you watch. That thinking will keep you here. Okay? What else can we use that's leveraged?
AI.
AI, interesting. I've been on calls now with ChatGPT. It's nuts what it can do. So you can use that for leverage. What else? You guys are missing what's the most leveraged thing you could do in this business?
Delegate whatever's not.
Nope. Nope.
System.
Social media.
Nope. List property in high volume. It is the most leveraged thing you could do, period, end of story. You know I had people delivering me cakes and pies to try to get them to accept offers? I'm curious, you've been on the other end with a listing agent has 5 offers. Who has all the leverage there? Oh God, you guys are like, oh hey Aaron, how you doing? Like I'll call them, they'll be like, hello? I'll be like, yeah, this is Aaron. Oh hey, how are you? How are you doing? It's the most leveraged thing you could do in the business, period. End of story. Because I'm curious, these systems, the MLS system, Zillow, Redfin, what do they all need like oxygen to breathe? Fucking data. That's what they need. Without it, they die. So if you can become a prodigious provider of data, you will continue to be disproportionately rewarded for your efforts. I'm curious, does the system need buyer's agents? Sorry. Ooh, feel that. Feel it. Let it sink in for a second. With that commission thing that's happening, you guys are going to have to start negotiating for commissions with buyer's agents. I mean, as a buyer's agent. That's what's going to happen in the future. And truthfully, the system doesn't need you. The system needs listing agents because without them, there's no data and all the thing shuts down. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a key mental map that I want you guys to think about. Okay? Once I understood this, it has shaped everything I've done moving since. Because prior to, I was under the impression, because we're taught this as a virus of thinking, that your job is paperwork. That is horseshit. You are a salesperson. Somebody else needs to be doing paperwork. Not only that, you're not an attorney. They're fill in the blanks. That's how much they trust you. Do you know why? You know what the barrier to entry is to become a real estate agent? You need to get a C on a test. Have $1,000 and not be a felon yet. Ta-da! That's the barrier. So your job isn't paperwork. They're telling you your job is to sit in networking events. I'm curious, are any of those people going to buy houses from you? No, you need to be in the presence of prospects, people that are actually going to do business with you. Do you see? You have to change the way that you think about things. But let's think about this value chain. Because they were teaching me, again, that virus of thinking, that mediocre thinking was teaching me, hey, all of these things are your job. But every business has a value chain, every single business. That goes from highest value activities to least valued activities. So let's walk through an example that we all sit through or have, right, experienced before, which is the doctor's office. So you make an appointment with the doctor. I'm curious, do you talk to the doctor to set that appointment?
Nope.
Who do you speak to? Receptionist. That's awesome. Then you show up. Who greets you at the door? The doctor? Receptionist. What's the first question they ask you?
Do you have insurance?
Hey, listen.
Do you have payment?
How the fuck are you going to pay for this? Is this cash or do you have insurance? Then what do? They hand you a clipboard and you sit down. What are they doing when they hand you the clipboard?
Getting all your information.
That's called pre-qualifying. Where does it hurt? How long does it hurt? Do you have a history of hurting? Have you traveled out of the country? Are you taking any medication? Da, 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 da. Right? It's pre-qualification, which is what we should be doing with clients before we go see them. Not like, hey, Amy, I want to sell my house. Great, I'll be there in 10. No, that's dumb. That is not effective, nor is it efficient. You will end up mediocre. Okay? After you hand back the clipboard, they say, okay, now you need to wait. And the doctor will be with you in a moment, which is a lie because that's not who greets you. You wait 30 minutes and who then talks to you? The nurse practitioner or the physician's assistant. And what do? They look at the little chart. Now it's on an iPad. Interesting. Should you guys be using pieces of paper? Fucking no. But you still do. Because it's not effective, nor is it efficient. They have an iPad now, so now they have the iPad. They're like, hey, Aaron, you hop on the thing. They weigh you. You pee in a cup. They bang on your knee. They say, hey, I see da-da-da-da-da. Great. The doctor will be with you in a minute. That's also a lie. Because how long does it take?
Half an hour.
Half an hour. Half an hour later, check this out. He or she blows in, looks at the iPad, says, hey, nice to see you. Looks like you're in for this. They look in your ears. That's a bill. You go, that's a bill. They touch your throat, that's a bill. They touch your abdomen, that's a bill. They look in your eyes, that's a bill. They write you a script, that's a bill. And they say, I will be back with you. I want you to come back in 2 weeks just to check in and see how you're doing. Tap you on the head, and they leave. They do that 20 times a day. I know because Carla's parents are both retired physicians. 20 times a day they do that at 10-minute increments. I need you to understand something. Those 10 minutes pay for the space, pay for the electricity, pay for all of the bookkeeping, all those files that you see behind you, the staff, and there's a profit. Which means it's the highest up the value chain. Does that make sense to you? Yes. Okay. So how is this applicable to real estate? Okay, but ask yourself a question and be honest. Are you operating with a value chain? No. You're the receptionist. Hey, how you doing? Nice to see you. Oh, great. Yeah. Yep. I'm actually not going to pre-qualify you. Let's just go look at stuff. Great. And then I show you the stuff. Then I write the contract. Then I negotiate it. Then I hover over you during the whole time. Hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? You gonna be happy? Oh my God. Oh, you gonna leave a good review? Do you see why you only do 10 deals a year? That's why. It's because you're not following a value chain. Now, when you follow a value chain, sometimes that creates. Does anybody get annoyed when you have to wait for the doctor? A little bit. Can you do anything about it? No. So if you're in really high demand, people will wait. You expect to wait, don't you? Do you expect to see, like when you call the attorney's office, like do you talk to the attorney right away? No. Anybody try to make a dentist appointment? Those motherfuckers are like, yeah, we can see you 6 months from now. You're like, what?
Right.
You're like, that's the soonest? They're like, yeah, I guess so. Right? Follow a value chain. If you don't follow a value chain, it will lead to mediocre levels of income. Make sense?
Yeah.
This next mental map. Income servicing versus income producing. Tell me what you think the difference is. Not Joel, because I know he knows. Because he is a top producer. How much money did you make last year, Joel?
Between the both of us, 800 grand.
$800,000 in the room. Team, clap that shit up. Hey, just so you know, selling is legal. You can do as much of it as you want. Okay? So I know he knows, but everybody else, what is the difference between income servicing and income producing? So good. As agents, brains are turning. Huh? What's
producing are activities that you do that are producing money.
Like?
Calling.
Yes. What else?
Going to listing appointments.
Yes. What else?
Selling property.
Yes. Negotiating. What else? You got 3 of them. So it's an acronym. PLAN. Prospect, lead, follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's the only thing you get paid to do, guys. Everything else is assistant work. Everything else is down the value chain. Does that make sense? The more you go down the value chain, the less money you make. Ha ha! Because everybody thinks like, okay, they say to me, hey, I want to make 100K. I'm like, great. You know why you think 100K is a lot of money? Because your parents thought it was a lot of money. Do you know why they thought it was a lot of money? Because 30 years ago, they could buy a house for 50,000 bucks.
Or less.
Now it's fucking 600 to live in Plantation for just a normal house in Sunrise Golf Village, which I was selling for 180 10 years ago. But look at the 100K. Back out, okay, so at 100K, you have business expense. I mean, you have taxes, right? Got to back that out. Then you have business expenses. Let's say you have 60K left. You got to pay housing, transportation, food, and insurance. How much money's left? Nothing. So what are we doing? Why are we still telling ourselves that's a lot? It's not. And the thing we all need to know and understand, doesn't matter who's in the government, they can't help you with that. They're not coming to save you. Those stimulus checks did nothing for you. 1,200 bucks. Right? Income producing is prospect, lead, follow, go on appointments, negotiate deals. What's income servicing? Transaction coordination. What else? Showing up to inspections, which you shouldn't be doing because you're not a home inspector. What else? Photos. Yeah, you guys go with the photographer. What the hell are you doing? Are you a professional photographer? What are you doing there? What else?
Putting in listings.
Yes, inputting listings. What else? I'm going to say one and you guys are going to be like, oh. Going to closings. Oh. What an enormous fucking waste of time.
We trust
For 3 hours, you're like, oh yeah, the weather. Hey, Bob, yeah, ha, ha, ha. Just give me my fucking money so I can go. Enormous waste of time. Right? It's true. Agents do it all the time. And then they sit there with their little thing. Like, you're an asshole. It's your fucking one sale for the month. Like, it's dumb. You're doing it wrong. That's why you're not making any money.
So I'm here.
You see what I'm saying? So look, income, so watch what I did. Once I got this accurate assessment, which again, once you get an accurate assessment, people will push away from it. They'll call you an asshole, they'll call you not nice name, they'll call you names your mom didn't give you. Oh, he thinks he's so cool. Oh, he thinks he's better than everybody. Look, I don't know about you guys. I am here to provide for my family. And I'm also here to provide for others beyond my family. So like, we're playing an economic game. So the game is to win. But in order to win, I have to know the rules. I have to know how to play. So income servicing, this is what I did. So most agents spend 80% of their time here. Listing coordination, transaction coordination, marketing, going to closings, you know, all this other stuff that has nothing to do with producing income. And only 20% of their time here. Because they're only 20%, I know they do less than 20 deals a year. Clockwork. The more you spend, as you flip this ratio, as it goes more towards sales and less towards here, units go up and income goes up. But in order to do that, I need systems, and I have to overcome poverty thinking because you have to pay people to help you. Guys, name me a business that is very successful that has no employees. Anybody? No, it doesn't exist. So I know that 65% of us came from families that lived paycheck to paycheck. That was me. So we have this DIY mentality. We heard things like money doesn't grow on trees. Eat all the food on your plate. And a penny saved is a penny. That's bullshit. It's a fucking penny.
So funny. But if you compound it.
Oh, God.
There's a compound
Hey,
effect.
I guess so. But while you're compounding that penny, I'm compounding much more. You see what I'm saying? But that takes a while to outgrow. It does, because we have this interesting emotional relationship with money. It creates tension, it creates anxiousness. A lot of us have a need for certainty, particularly if you grew up in an environment where there wasn't certainty with resources. So it keeps you stuck. You won't hire people to help you. And that's a perpetual wheel that never stops. Okay? So what I did is once I figured this out, I was like, oh, this stuff? I'm just pushing it over. And I spent 80% of my time here and 20% here. And in the 80%, I spent time in the thing that had the most leverage. Make sense? That's why I was able to sell over 100 homes a year for 10 years in a row. Do 200 deals a year twice. Where am I focusing my time? Does that make sense? I'm curious, how many people I've said something that pushes against the thought that you had that was true? Don't lie, be honest. One. Yeah, good. Good, Brian. Yep, me and Brian. So Brian's in the back. He partnered with us, how long ago?
Like a year and a half.
A year and a half ago. And how many units did you do since you joined? Units like volume.
60 last year.
60 transactions, and you icon, so you got $8,000 in stock, right? And when we started coaching together, did you have any systems?
Not at all.
Nope, he was doing everything himself on pieces of paper. And when we initially connected, we went through this whole evolution, okay? First I was like, bro, you need people to help you. So we hired somebody, and then he comes back to a coaching call, and he's like, yeah, I find myself getting back into it. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I hired him part-time. I'm like, what the hell did you just say to me? Why do you think he hired him part-time? Money, even though he makes a lot. But I know, because I know his history, he comes from an experience with less resources. So he's still thinking what? Poor. So then we're like, hey, we got to up that. We got to hire somebody. Hired him full time, super helpful. Now he's doing the 60, 70 units with systems, and he has more time, and now he's building. How many people have you brought to the company?
Myself directly
11. 11, and that's turned into what?
24.
And what does that equal in rev share?
The next phase is going to be 2,400.
$2,400 a month in residual income. That covers housing, that covers groceries for the month, that pays for private schools, that pays for something. But without systems, would you have been able to do that?
No.
Without going through that evolution of having to let go of money, would you be able to do that?
Not at all.
Not at all. Do you see? It's a perfect example. And guys, you can tell the kind of youthfulness of instruction by students. That's the proof is in the progress. And really for him it was just a change in thinking. How much of it was psychological and how much mechanics?
99.
99%. And I would just, fuck, because I love him, he's stubborn. I tell him shit, he's like, I don't know. I'm like, really, bro? You gonna argue with me? But because I do care about him, I kept coming at him. How many people do you have in your life that you give permission to do that? Nobody. That's why we all think we're fucking hot shit. I remember sitting at a dinner table with a guy and he's like, how much money are you gonna make? And I was like, I don't know, like 500 grand. He's like, why do you settle for that? Most people you tell that to, they're like, oh my God, you're rich, bro. He's like, why do you settle for that? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like you should be making $1 million a year. And then we were at a dinner with 6 people. He's like, I feel like I need to buy you dinner. And then he did. Made me feel like a little kid. But he was being kind, truthfully, because the dinner was outrageous at the time for me. It was like $6,000. I'm like, Jesus Christ. It's like, this is so much money, right? But he was also challenging my standards. How many people do you have in your life that challenge your standards? None. That's why we get away with shit. That's why we don't go to the gym. That's why we don't work really hard. That's why we don't make no money, because we don't surround ourselves with people. You know why we don't surround ourselves with people doing more? Why do you think that is? It's hard because we have to admit we're not as fast as we are, as cool as we are, as smart as we are. It just is uncomfortable. But I promise you, the more you're willing to get around those types of individuals and be uncomfortable, and Brian's a perfect example, the faster he will grow. Right? He was willing to sit in the fire. And after our first call, what did you do after our first coaching call?
Took a nap.
Why?
The dream was
It's a lot. And how many times on our calls are we like pushing back and forth?
every time.
Every fucking time. Every time. But we need people in our life to do that. Imagine if you had somebody in your life to do that all the time. How much more productive would you be? How many? Exactly. You do if you partner with us. It's like how many people, like how much more would you accomplish of the things that you say you're going to do? Because somebody actually cares about you and pushes you until you do it. Okay? So I need to understand this mental map. Income servicing versus income producing. We talked about this. Where is all the leverage? So this was a big insight for me. Because at the beginning of my career, they were telling me to like put my name tag on things and go to the grocery store and be like, they were telling me to hold open houses. Uh-oh, that's an uncomfortable one. Because when I say that, you guys are like, I did one yesterday. Right? Waiting for people to show up with your little cookies? Like it's a fucking house party?
I did one Saturday.
Yeah, you get one person coming and you take a picture. Day in the life of a realtor. Wasting their fucking time. So I didn't know where I should be stacking time. So let's follow this logically. If the most valuable thing you could do that's the highest leverage is working with sellers, do you know why it's harder to work with sellers? And this is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of you guys, but it doesn't make it any less true. Because it requires skill. Let that sit in for a second. It requires actual skill. To take somebody who is a stranger, help them to self-discover what their goals and objectives are, overcome their objections, and have them commit to pay you a ton of money to help you sell their home. That is a skill-based activity. That's why very few people do it. Those are called the facts. Doesn't make it any less true. You notice the energy in the room? So look at how many listings you're taking and ask yourself a question. Am I skilled? And I want you to understand something. Listen to what I'm about to say to you. You don't get more because you want more. You get more because you become more. No amount of the secret. No fucking manifesting. If you're not valuable, the marketplace will be like, you're not valuable. Period. And I know that's hard in this environment because now in this environment we're telling kids, oh, you're perfect just the way you are. That's not what's true out there. If you don't deliver the goods, what happens? The marketplace fires you and you make no money. That's it. You can't go to their teacher and be like, well, Susie's really trying hard. Imagine going to like your son or daughter's manager. She's really trying hard. Give her a raise. That's horseshit. So we need to start behaving that way and making ourselves more valuable, right? So because I didn't know this thing right here, this mental map, the money is not in the service, it's in the selling of the service. What do you think I mean by that? The money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service.
Gotta get skilled.
Okay. Well, think about this. We are all, yes. So we operate under the false misperception that the money is in the hand holding. The money's in the fucking, oh yay, I'm at the closing. The money's in that. That's not where the money is. Because let me prove my point. How many people here have a real estate license? Raise your hand. We can all perform the same service, correct? Do we all make the same amount of money? No. Why?
Selling different services.
Some people know how to sell the service better than others. That's it. Period. So if that's what's true, I need to spend all my time learning how to
So,
And how much time are you learning how to sell? None. Looking on Instagram. Do you see what I'm saying here?
yeah.
Now, what components are comprised of selling?
Pick up the phone.
Picking up the phone, calling,
Knowing your script.
knowing your scripts, which requires what?
Practice.
Role play. What else?
Consistency.
Consistency. What else? Handling objections. Hey, are you just walking into homes and like, oh my God, you're fantastic. List it below what I think, it's probably what Zillow says it's worth, and I'll pay you whatever commission you want. Is that what's happening? No. I've never heard of your company. What are you gonna do to market my home? Your commission's too high. My sister's cousin's brother's an agent, right? They said they do it at 4%. Is that not what's happening? If you do not know how to answer that, you are getting fired on a regular basis. It's a skill. Having the skill of intellectual intelligence plus emotional intelligence. Because we all recognize that, look, people don't do what you want them to do, they do what they self-discover. But if you don't know how to ask questions to help people self-discover, guess what? You don't know how to sell. If you can't help, we think that we're thinking beings that feel, we're feeling beings that think. If you can't help people emotionally get over things, you're not selling. You're not helping them to make decisions, to move things forward. You're just an order taker. Oh, you want me to write an offer? Okay. Here you go. Oh, we didn't get it. Sorry. That's just order taking. It's not a skilled activity. Okay? So once I figured this out, the money's not in the service and the selling of the service, what do you think Aaron did in the third person? What do you think I spent my time doing?
Practicing.
Oh my God, guys. Carla, how obsessed? So obsessed. 24/7. So I role played twice a day, 6 days a week for 3 years. Consistency without fail. I would handwrite out what to say by hand, the listing presentation every day. I would record myself on presentations. How many of you guys would have the courage to record yourself on a presentation and show it to your significant other? No. You're like, oh my God, what am I saying? What is happening? I just verbally vomited, right? I did that because I realized that's where the money is. Do you see? And now people pay me to teach them how to do what? Because it's a very valuable. Would people pay you to teach them how to do what you do? Probably not. This makes sense to spend a lot of time on because it's a highly leveraged activity. It'll serve you throughout your whole career. Okay? And there's a common thread. So Joel's in the room, 800 last year. Brian, a bunch of money. 12 people I coach make over $1 million a year. You know what the common thread of all of them is? They recognize that they're salespeople. It's like a dirty word to you guys. You're like, I'm a realtor. What the hell does that mean? I'm a real estate consultant. What the fuck is that? Do you know what you're all hiding behind? Yeah, you're trying to not admit that you're? Oh yeah, that's right. No, I just not my style. I'm like, that's the job. Can you imagine like somebody who mows grass are like, no, I'm a grass architect. What? Or somebody who mows grass coming up to you and be like, you know what, I'm kind of a big deal. Like, why? I cut grass every day. You'd be like, bro, really? That's like when people give me props for like making calls. Oh my God, how do you do that? I'm like, that's your job. It's what you signed up for. But do you see that virus in thinking? If I don't think that, what happens? You don't do anything. And then you take pride in the fact that you don't. You're like, oh, those guys, they're so dumb. I'll show them. Meanwhile, they're making all the money. Right? So which one's more leveraged? We talked about this. Sellers for sure. But it requires skill. Okay? Now, this last component is what's necessary if you want to scale. Because agents get stuck at like 10, 15, 20 deals a year because they have no systems. Write this down. Memory is not a system. Okay? It's not. I love it when agents try to brag to me like, it's all up here. I'm like, that's stupid. Because if it's all up here, guess who has to be there all the time? You. Memory is not a system, guys. Check this out. Thousandaires think in time. What do I need to do? How much time do I need to spend? Millionaires think in systems. How can I create a system that we can duplicate and replicate? So you want to hear the key, like what allowed us to sell all these homes? One, recognizing that the money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service, and recognizing that all the leverage is on the listing side. Dedicating all my time and energy and skill to do that activity. Then having a rock star systems person, which is Carla, create all the systems so I can list 10, 12 properties, 15 properties a month and throw them over my shoulder and keep going. Ta-da. That's it. You need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome. If you're not producing the outcomes that you want, what does that therefore mean? You don't have an accurate assessment of what? Reality. The person who's producing the outcome that you want, they know something that you don't. They see something you don't. Right? So trust plus systems equals margin with time. Because the other thing I noticed, and me and Brian went through this, is he created systems, but then you know what he did? What do you think he did?
He worked them.
Yeah, he worked them. He had people on his staff, but he's still getting his fingers in it. Why do you think he's doing that? And you know what? We had a whole call. For a whole hour, I told him, you don't trust them. No, it's like my standards. I was like, what? I'm like, bro, you don't trust them. He's like, no, this is my standard that I like to operate from. After 45 minutes of this, at the end of the call, he's like, yeah, I think I don't trust them. Truthfully. So if I have a system and I don't use it, it means I don't trust the people fully, right? But trust plus systems equals margin with time. Now, why do you want margin with time?
Leverage.
Because traditional success in this business is working 70, 80 hours a week. When you work 70, 80 hours a week, what suffers? Family. What else? Yourself. What else?
You burn out.
Yeah, burnout. What else? Your body. What else? Mental health. What else? Like relationships, community, everything. You don't have any time to do any of that stuff. Do you see? But in order to create systems, you have to stop or get proximity to people who can give you the systems, because the awesome part is we have them. We can just hand them to you. Gabriella sets up people's CRMs, their follow-up bosses, to help them to become more productive with task lists that pop up as the transaction progresses, which I'll show you what that looks like. Okay? So what does it look like? Systems. This is our follow-up boss. Awesome job, Gabriella, on this. So I'm just going to run through this real quickly, how this is working. Because the real estate transaction has many moving parts, does it not? Yeah. But I need to create a system so that way it's like a conveyor belt. It's duplicatable and replicatable. So let me ask you this. Does McDonald's make the best burger?
No.
Look, she was like, no way. You know what's interesting about it, though? No matter where you are on planet Earth, it tastes the same. Why? Bro, the system is ridiculous. The system is like, okay, cook the burger for this amount of time in this oil. Put these amount of pickles on it, these amount of onions, this amount of ketchup. It is so rock solid, you can hire people, pay them $10 an hour, and they can't screw it up. Because they have a rock star system. And if you don't have a system, you are the system. Okay? So this is like to show kind of our system. So here's like a client. Let's say you have past client centers of influence, right? You do a lot of business with them. Here's your client. Here's all their information. Your relationship with them, you can put that here. Here's all the tags. 5-star review, attended this event, you know, all these types of tags. The reason why the tags are helpful is you can blast out emails to people. It's searchable, right? Things of that nature. Look at all the background information. Gabby lives in Florida with her husband, David, 2 children, Marcos, Valentina. Anybody besides me sit with somebody and completely forget who the fuck they are? Yep. All the time. I'm like, hey, I'm like, hey, you. Right? But knowing this stuff is super helpful. So you have all this information here. Look, transaction details. She has this entered in as an agent, you know, EXP, but you could do, look, termite inspection, birthdays, all these types of things, okay? All of the information is housed in one place. How many of you guys use Dotloop and Google Drive and Google Docs? Yeah. Do you know what that is? It's like a conundrum of ineffectiveness because you have to go to multiple different places to get information. That's not efficient or effective. And if you have staff that's helping you, what do they have to do? Go to multiple different places. Well, we have everything in one place. All of the communication that's accessible to anybody in the cloud 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. How many times have you had a deal but nobody can do anything about it because all the information's here? They have to speak to you. Versus if it was all here, any of your staff has access to it and they can relay the message. Aaron's actually in an appointment right now. How can I help? Well, what's going on with the transaction? Well, we can see here on the task list, right? So when the status changes, where it goes from like, let's say an active like or like a potential seller to an active seller, a task list automatically pops up, right? Of all the things that need to be done on the listing side. Order the pictures, call this person, There's like 15 tasks. But then you know who does that? The listing coordinator. And you know what they do? They check it off as they go. So all you need to do is look at where they're at in the process. Will that make your job more effective and efficient? 100%, right? So all correspondence are here. Any appointments that you've had with them are here. You can link it to AM cards. Anybody familiar with AM cards? What AM cards does is it allows you to send a card with gift cards as well, but any card directly to their mailing address by the click of a button. So let's say I know it's Amy's birthday. Boom, she gets an automatic email because it's set up, but then she also gets an AM card. Happy birthday with a Starbucks, like, have a cup of coffee on us. But you can do that like that, versus you got to go to Office Depot, buy the card. Do you see? Not effective nor efficient. But if it's all in one place, guys, this is the next level. If you want to book a call with Gabriella, take a picture right there of that QR code. She's the one who set this up for us, and she can help you do the same. Okay? You got it? Good. Okay. So now the schedule of a top producer. This was my schedule when I was, doing 100 plus deals a year. So role play in the morning. The reason why role play in the morning is important is because I'm getting ready for the day. Here's prospecting. Now, if you're not making calls to expireds, cancels for sale by owners, that's fine. Call your past client centers of influence. Text them, DM them, shoot them bomb videos. Like, do activity, because some people are like, I don't like to do that other thing. Then don't. You guys won't wait 5 minutes for somebody to fucking respond online and you'll look for someone else. Like, of course they're gonna do that. If I do it, they'll do it, right? So lead follow-up here, quick lunch. Not like 3 hours, okay? And not something super heavy where you need to take a nap after. Okay, quick lunch. Then your afternoon time. So you don't have to think. I want you to understand something. You do not have to use any brain power until you get to 1 o'clock. Which the challenge for most of you guys is you constantly having to use brain power like, what should I do today? Where should I get started? Right? You don't have to use any brain power until you get to 1 o'clock and you only have 4 options and they all start with a P. I can practice more. Why? Because remember we said that's a super leveraged activity? Right? That skill of selling, that'll serve you throughout. Listen, in a capitalistic society, one of the most valuable skills you can possess is how to sell things. If you can do that, you will be one of the most highest paid people on the planet. Okay? It's that valuable of a skill. And yet we don't teach it in school. So I can practice more, I can prospect more, and that could maybe, if you're inside during the day, maybe you can go to past clients and drop off something to them. You know what I'm saying? Or go to expired listings and go to the door. Preview. What I mean by preview is that most of your clients know more about the market than you do because they're on Zillow all the time like this. Because 90% of all Americans have the majority of their net worth tied up into their house. So they're constantly refreshing all the time. So previewing means like, let's say you have an appointment coming up. What I did at the beginning of my career, let's say I had a listing appointment, I would go an hour early and look at 3 listings in the neighborhood before I actually went and presented. Why? Because I can say to the seller, hey, in preparation for us connecting, I actually went and previewed some of your competition. So I can tell you with a high level of confidence if it was as nice or not as nice as yours. Now I'm curious, is that the type of attention to detail that you're gonna expect from the agent that you hire?
Definitely.
Yeah, you know what the great news is?
What?
You found what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and go over this information together. You see what I'm saying? And then I can tell them, because how many times do they say, no, my house is nicer? I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Well, my first question is, have you actually been inside of it? And they're like, no, well, I just was. And I also bought my iPad, not pieces of fucking paper. So we can look together. And what's interesting, let's look at this kitchen and you zoom it out. Oh, wow, that kitchen is really nice. Yeah, it is. They redid that. And they also have this pool back here. I noticed you don't have a pool, do you? No. Yeah, and we can see here, like the bedrooms, baths, it's pretty much the same square footage. A 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square feet. And here are the tax rolls for your property. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,500 square feet. So it's an apples to apples comparison. Would you agree? And they're like, yeah. Great, so they have some features and amenities that we don't. And we can see here they're asking $550. Oh my God, that's too low. I understand. At the same time, they've been on the market for 45 days. What do you think the buying public is telling them about their price and product? Yeah, I agree. Now, by the way, did I tell them that? You guys walk in there like, I'm an all-knowing real estate agent. I got a 70 on a test.
Somebody wants.
And at $1,000 and I wasn't a felon yet, so I know everything about real estate, so it is going to sell for this. Stupid. Dumb. Because then when it doesn't sell and you ask them for a price reduction, what do they say? You told me. And as soon as they say that, you know what? You ever seen those memes? It's like, it's at this moment that he realized he fucked up. Because the moment they say that to you, it's because you fed it to them. Okay? So I can preview, or I can go on a presentation. Okay? Those are the only 4 options. And then from 3 to 7 is just listing appointments. And guys, anybody can do this schedule 1 day a week. Some people can do it 2 days a week. There is very, very few that can do it 5 to 6 days a week. Consistently, day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. Okay?
And that's the key, right? Like being consistent, hitting it every 5 days.
That's right. And I remember when we were coaching one-on-one, that's a challenge. Because you're an avid prospector. It's just a matter of sticking to it day after day after day, week after week, and saying no. I need you guys to understand something. You know why most of you guys have a problem saying no to things? Why do you think? Because you don't want people to be upset with you. But everything you say no to is something else you're saying yes to. So when I say no to somebody taking off my schedule, what am I really saying yes to? The income that I want, the lifestyle that I want, to be able to provide the way that I want. That's what I'm saying yes to. You need to reframe it in your mind. Because when you say yes to things, do you ever give an explanation? When you say no, do you give an explanation? Because you feel compelled to. Well, I can't because I have this. Do you ever do that when you say yes? No.
I've learned to not apologize.
That's right. So one of the challenges, he's not here today, but it's fantastic because he followed me out of hate. He called me on a listing and he couldn't get a hold of me. It's by design because the questions are, how old is the roof, Edwin? I don't fucking know. Right? Has it been remodeled? Like, what's going on with the toilets? I don't know. Do an inspection. What do you think they'll take? It's a dumb question. You know I can't answer it. You understand? What are the showing instructions? It's fucking right there. So he couldn't get a hold of me. So he's like, and he got mad, so he followed me online. It's like, I hate this guy. Then you know what he did? As he consumed more content, he was like, wow, this kind of makes sense. He came to 2 of these events and now he's partnered with us. So I need you guys to understand, hate is a mechanism to bring people into ecosystems. But everything I say no to is something else I have to say yes to. So if you're not following, think about this. Look at this schedule. This is a schedule that produces 7 figures. It's simple, isn't it? People would say to me like, hey, I want to shadow you. I'm like, bro, you're going to be bored out of your fucking mind. I do the same thing every single day, every single time, like without fail. And Carla, how easy is it to pull me off my schedule? Impossible, even for Carla. Okay? Impossible. It would be like, nope, I'm busy. I've trained all my family. Look, if the house is not burning down, how many of you guys have family that want to make their problems your problems? If the house is not fucking burning down to the ground, I am not available before 12. Period. Everybody knows that. My mom emails me before then. She didn't like that. I gotta email you. Yeah, that's why I bought you a condo and paid cash. You understand? No. I just have to be willing to do it. So look at this schedule, compare it to yours, and be like, okay, where can I make some changes? So this is my schedule now, and it's reflective of what I'm focused on. Now, my intention in showing this is not to make it about me, but just to show you. So now I'm doing coaching calls, which you'll notice, all here. And then these are third-party calls, which are calls where people that want to have a conversation about EXP. But this is my schedule. I'm curious, is that back to back to back to back to back? 15-minute increments, right? Boom, 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 boom. Is that why we're so productive? 100%. Is there any time in there for me to screw around?
No. 15 minutes?
What is it? Idleness of hands is the devil's workshop? 15-minute increments. Bang, 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 bang. Quick lunch. Quick something to eat. Do, 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 do. You think that has any correlation between 196 agents and 16 and a half months? Do you see? It's a culmination of all of these different mental maps, ways of thinking. So when you go to most of these like time management things, they just they don't give you like the ways of thinking to change. Because if you change those ways of thinking, your schedule will change and what you produce will change. So if you want a recording of this, it'll be up on YouTube, but you can take a picture here. So to ensure that you get the recording. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share with you a vehicle, because For 17 years, I sold 2,000 homes, and I didn't really see a mechanism for getting off the transaction treadmill. Anybody starting to think about how to get off the transaction treadmill besides me? Show of hands. Yeah, because transactions are cool, but like, not forever, right? Hustling is a season, it's not a business strategy. I'm gonna say that again, not because you didn't hear me, but because it's important. Hustling is a season, not a business strategy. I would be on mastermind calls, and I'm like, look guys, I was usually the youngest one. I'm like, look, if I'm on this call in my 70s and I'm talking about contacts and fucking listing appointments, I screwed up. I messed this thing up. And I didn't see a mechanism or a way to get off the transaction treadmill until I found this opportunity. So whatever you think you kind of know about EXP, and I'm sure maybe some people have approached you, I just want you to suspend it for a moment, because the most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. Isn't that interesting? Anybody besides me ever been on vacation have to bring your laptop? Anybody besides me, significant others, get pissed off because I'm checking it all the time? We don't live in a world of rich and poor. We don't live in a world of haves and have-nots. We live in a world of people who have leverage and people who don't.